Okay, so we're going to continue. We'll look at marriage in Zambia. So we're going to continue from where we ended. Last time we talked about the elements of family law. So the elements of family law are the ones where we said there were 10, and the first one being marriage. So marriage in Zambia. So basically, there are two types of marriages. So two types of marriages are recognized in Zambia, and these are: number one, statutory marriage, which is known as civil marriage. Then the other type is the customary marriage. So what we must just understand for the sake of our exam is that statutory marriage is a monogamous marriage, monogamous union. So what do we mean? It should be between one wife and one husband. So if you are in a statutory marriage, it is not allowed for you to be married to more than one spouse or something like that. It's just one wife, one husband. Whereas a polygamous one is the one that is the customary one. So the customary marriage can be polygamous. So polygamous means one husband and more than one wife, or one wife and more than one husband. Though usually it's common for one man to get married or to marry more than one wife, especially in some traditional setups. So what are the key aspects of a statutory marriage? So the key thing you must understand is that if it is a statutory marriage, there is going to be one wife or one husband at a time. You cannot have two. Then it is a voluntary union. It is a union for life, excluding others. So you need to make sure that you make up an informed decision to get united or into a union with one person without the influence of other people. All right, and then it is non-convertible. You cannot get married, or you marry one wife and later on, maybe due to one reason or the other, you decide to marry another person. No, it cannot be converted to a polygamous marriage. You cannot marry another wife after you've married one wife or one husband in a statutory marriage. All right, so let's continue and talk about the requirements for a statutory marriage. What are the key requirements for a statutory marriage? Number one, there should be a notice of marriage. So this notice of marriage must be published for 21 days. Okay, 21 days at the local registrar's office. So you must notify the registrar that this can be at the council. You notify them 21 days before that marriage that there should be or there will be that marriage. Then the other thing is the age. All right, the age. So this age, the age of the parties. So the parties getting married, that is the husband or the wife to be, must be at least 21 years old. Or if they are less than 21 years, maybe they are 16 to 20, there must be consent from the parents. So this consent we are talking about is just marriage blessings. Okay, the parents must approve of the marriage to say, okay, it's okay, the marriage can go on, so that there can be marriage blessings. Then the other thing is the relationship. So the two parties that are getting married must not be related by blood. Later on we shall look at the prohibited degrees. So prohibited degrees are simply those people you cannot get married to. So if it so happens that maybe the husband is the brother to the wife to be, then that marriage will not be approved under statutory marriage. You know, in some certain cultures, it is allowed for cousins to get married, but not in statutory marriage. Statutory marriage will not tolerate that. Then residency. So at the time that marriage wants to happen, at least one party must be resident in the district where the marriage is to take place. You cannot say, okay, we'll get married in maybe I'm from Lusaka, then you say we'll get married in Solwezi, but you're not residents of Solwezi, then they will not approve of it. So at least you must be in that particular area, or must at least be in that area for a period of 6 months or more. Then there should be solemnization. So solemnization is simply the ceremony, like the wedding ceremony performed by a marriage registrar or licensed priest. And then last but not least, the requirement for statutory marriage is a marriage certificate. So this one is going to be issued after the ceremony, after solemnization. So number one, there should be notice of 21 days that the marriage will be there at the local registrar. Then the age, parties must not be 21 years, less than 21 years. If they are, there should be consent from parents. Then the husband and wife to be should not be related by blood. And then in the district where the wedding ceremony or the solemnization is to take place, both parties must be residents, or just one, at least one must be a resident of that place. Then there should be that ceremony, the solemnization, which is the wedding, and finally the marriage certificate must be there to offer or to act as proof that people are actually married. You know, in Zambia, sometimes you may be doubting whether or not people are married, or maybe they are in a predicament where other people claim to be in a relationship with your partner. Then you just produce a marriage certificate, then it will be sorted. Now, let's talk about the prohibited degrees. What are prohibited degrees? So prohibited degrees refer to relationship by blood, or relationships by blood or marriage that are not allowed to marry. So under statutory marriage, they are really strict. They will not want you to get married to certain people that you may be related to. For example, prohibited degrees or prohibited relationships for a man. So number one, a man cannot get married to his descendant. The man cannot get married to his granddaughter. The man cannot get married to his brother's daughter. The man cannot get married to his wife's daughter. There are sometimes you get married to somebody who already had a daughter, and maybe that daughter is now at that age where you feel maybe I can also marry her. That would not be allowed. Then his wife's grandmother, you cannot. Mother's sister, who is the aunt, you cannot. His father's sister cannot get married to that one, and also his father's wife. You know, sometimes some fathers may have wives, or maybe a young wife like that, and then you are the firstborn son to your father, and you find that you start getting attracted to that mother who is your stepmother. It is not allowed. You cannot do that under statutory marriage. Let's look at the prohibited degrees for a woman. Who are the people that a woman is not allowed to get married to under statutory marriage? So a woman as well cannot get married to her husband's father, Wapongozi, her husband's son. Maybe the husband came with a son who is old like that. They don't know what happens, but it's just crazy. So you're not allowed. Her husband's grandfather, that cannot happen. Okay, so some people may try to say, okay, I'll get married to that or whatever, but it is not allowed under statutory marriage. Her grandmother's husband, her brother's son, her sister's son is not mentioned, but the daughter's husband is, so we can talk about that one there. So we can also say her mother's brother or uncle, those she's not allowed to get married to. So that those are prohibited degrees. So in our exam, they'll just tell us to say define what are prohibited degrees, then we'll be able to actually do that particular thing there. Okay, so let's look at the key points. So the key points then here are that these relationships, the prohibited degrees, are prohibited due to blood or marriage ties. So because you are related by blood or marriage, you cannot see be allowed to proceed under statutory marriage. Then the prohibitions or the prohibitions apply to both direct and indirect relationships. So whether there are some distant relationships, so you can easily trace it, it is not going to be allowed. All right, now let's talk about the solemnization process as we wind up in this first part of statutory marriage. So you see that solemnization here was part of the requirements for statutory marriage. So what are the key aspects under solemnization? So there's this thing. So the actual wedding ceremony, that's the thing for solemnization. So solemnization is the formal ceremony where the couple gets married, marking the beginning of their marital union. So in our African setup, there will be the marriage, then there will be the wedding. People will come together from both families and then have that celebration. So that is the solemnization there. So in that particular thing, there will be public declaration where during the ceremony the couple will publicly declare, okay, at one point in the wedding the couple will be told to actually commit to each other, signifying their willingness to enter marriage. Okay, Mr. Chite, are you willingly getting married to this one, Oshan? When they say I do, they publicly declare that they are willing to get married. And then they are going to exchange vows and then also give each other rings. The couples will exchange those vows, promising to love and cherish each other, and rings will be given symbolizing their union. I think we've seen people that wear rings. That's just a symbol to say wherever you go, know that I'm there, or whoever comes to you, they must know that you are taken. That's how it is. And then during that particular thing as well, it will not just be done in isolation. There will be some witnesses. Okay, at least 2 witnesses are required to validate the marriage, ensuring that the union is witnessed and acknowledged by others. You cannot just get married. You take each other, you go to an unknown place, you get married. It will not work out. Then the timing for that solemnization, the ceremony should take place between 8 hours to 18 hours, specifying the time frame for the marriage to be solemnized. So you must actually say, okay, the wedding of Mr. and Mrs. Chite will take place on this date from this time to this time. So that particular time aspect is what is going to be there. So under solemnization, that is just the wedding ceremony where the couple will publicly declare that they love each other. Then they will exchange vows and rings in the presence of some witnesses, and then the ceremony will take place between somewhere 8 hours to 18 hours. All right, after which there will be issuance of the marriage certificate. So the last part there to seal it up will be the marriage certificate. So the marriage certificate is simply evidence of marriage. The marriage certificate serves as legal proof of marriage, providing documentation of the union. There are some times where you feel, for me to make sure that I've got that assurance that this is my wife, this is my husband, I need to have a document, and that document will be the marriage certificate. Then there will be registration. So this registration, for this marriage certificate to be issued, there should be registration. So after the ceremony, the marriage is registered at the council, making it a matter of public record. So for example, you want to figure out to say, is this person married? I'm not really sure if she's single or anything. If it happened under statutory marriage, you can go there and access it. So accessibility, once it's registered, the marriage is registered, the marriage records can be accessed or actually inspected by anyone. Okay, can be inspected by anyone who pays a search fee, allowing for verification of marital status. It's very important, especially nowadays, that people have become increasingly cunning. They may get married to 2 or 3 people, so it's better you do pay a search fee at the authorities there, then you verify whether somebody is married or not. And last but not least, here you need to talk about the court jurisdiction. Which court deals with statutory marriage? So in your exam, the court that deals with statutory marriage is the High Court. So the High Court deals with statutory marriages. We'll talk about customary marriages as well, but for the statutory marriages, the civil marriages, the High Court is the court that deals with the statutory marriages. So you can see it is a very serious marriage where issues or disputes will be sorted out in the High Court. Now, let's talk about this very interesting issue here, payments. When you are getting married under statutory marriage, it is not required by law to make any payments. So statutory marriages or statutory marriage does not require marriage payments. But in a country like Zambia, where things are mixed with some culture, traditions, you find that you do both statutory and customary. So you find that you also still pay some amount of money, and then also do have a marriage certificate. So in this statutory marriage, it's your own, it's out of your own free will to pay something, but the law will not require you to pay something like 20 pin, 50,000. It is not really required. There are no marriage payments. So in the exam, they would ask you to say what happens. So just say no marriage payment is required by law. All right, maybe the in-laws, the people, the parents may want the money, but the law does not support for that. And then there's also the consent for minors, young people between the ages of 16 to 20. There will be need for written consent from parents or guardians. So this is actually the key things that the examiners want you to know when it comes to statutory marriage. There are 2 types of marriages, statutory and customary. So we've looked at statutory marriage, which is a marriage that has to do with one wife and one husband. So in the next one, I'm going to cover customary marriage, the one that can be polygamous.